Hey guys, so we're here. We are absolutely here. Of course, like everything, when you first get here, you realize what you have to do. And we have a little bit of a flat, but lo and behold, this is my business. So mechanical work and building are the things I do now. So that's a good thing. But all this, where we are here, is a learning process. So this is where we are, and this is the homestead. What you're seeing here around you is, believe it or not, almost a year of progress. Well, not really a year of progress, but it is something that we started about a year ago. So we got here, and where you're standing is one of the top of our property. Our property is very hilly, and what you have here is you have a couple of hills. This is about 850 feet, 60 feet, not super high. And then across the way we own the valley, and where we have a lake, which is awesome. We'll show you that here. And we own across the way as well, which is about 900 feet, and that's a lot more treed. But this was treed as well, not quite as much as across the way here. But what you're seeing is an area that we spent some time and money in clearing it out to see exactly what we had. You know, the way I say it is, a property of this size, when you're doing a homestead and stuff like that, there are so many things to consider. There's so much, and it can be quite overwhelming, and it is for anybody. It probably, it could be for us as well, unless you get really focused. And that's the way you start. First you come in, you clear some land, you get a kind of a lay of the land of what it's going to look like, and try to get an understanding of the topography, of your water sources. You get an idea of your utilities, right? Depending upon what you're going to do. What does it look like to build a place here? What is it going to cost, right? So that's the things that we were kind of concerned with, is what is this going to cost? And what is this going to look like? And I think it takes a while to even grasp it. So we had a couple of options here. Well, after we cleared it, we kind of looked at it. We said, okay, which is the best way to access the property? If you look over this direction here, this was one of the best ways to access the property. So up over here, if you want to take a walk with me, this is really our entrance in here. And when you're looking at a property and you're looking at initially developing it, and you're going to live here, homestead, being raw land as this is, and I want to clarify, there's nothing on this property. There's no utilities. There's no, what I mean by that is there's no power, there's no water, there's no access. There was no access from the road. Now the road, if you take this driveway all the way down to the bottom, you're looking at about almost 2,500 feet to the roadway. Pretty far, a half a mile almost. So I think a mile is 5,300 feet, I'm guessing. So about half of that road just to get outside there to the main road. That is also where our utilities are. That's where our main power comes from, and that's where our underground, our water comes from as well. Now, you have a lot of decisions to make, okay? And it's based on, obviously, cost, labor, who's going to do it with you, who's not going to do it with you. Are you going to be by yourself doing this? What does it look like time-wise? What's your situation personally? Do I have to be out of a home? Do I have a place to live? A lot of components go into developing a property and starting something major like this. And this is a major project. It's not a huge piece of property, but it's big. It's over 75 acres of land here. And we have some other land around us that we could acquire in the future maybe, but it's pretty costly, But 75 acres is quite enough for us. So we first came in here and we decided to put our road up in here. Many reasons why we did that. The first thing is, and again, I want to be clear, I don't know all this. I learned this as I went along. This is not because I've got some sort of like land, I'm like the land whisperer and I understand. It actually is not that. It's all the stuff that I've learned from people I've spoken with in the area, people who do different trades, the guys who do the rocks, the guys who do the clearing. they all kind of gave their input, and you must do that. You must listen to the people, particularly folks that live around the area. This is a little further from where we live now, so we wanted to, get a lay of the land, so to speak, and find out what we're doing. So we laid this driveway in, and we did it up here because particularly you're really subject to water. What I mean by that is drainage. You really got to be looking at how does your lot lay and how does it drain. So this is the highest point of the property on this side, meaning that when it rains on this property, the drainage will not wash away our road, where it can do that, very easily. So you want to lay it down. And there's a school of thought of, well, what type of road you lay in, what do you do? So this rock here, this is what they call basically 1.5 inch gravel. It's 1.5 inch wide. It's just a bedding, a base, and what you're hoping is over time, as the trucks come up here, that it lays this flat, it compacts it into the ground, and then we lay another type of rock on top of it. So that's basically the initial start. We laid it up here. Now, let's take a little different look. From about here, the road forward, because of the property, and we don't want to destroy the nature of it, we don't want to destroy the really a whole lot of the natural beauty of it. And I guess we'll show you around as far as how the beautiful scenery around here is. It's really beautiful. Now we're entering into spring now, so the leaves will be coming back on the trees. But if you come in here, coming along from here, we're not going to put any rock. We're not going to really have any promotion of driving on it, meaning we can drive on it. We're going to put mulch and a mulch walkways, and then we're going to build our buildings as we go forward. And each part of that is going to be things that we're going to develop over time. So the way I put it, and this is what kind of came to me, is it's kind of like an artist. You really don't really know what you have when you're looking at a blank canvas, and that was what it looked like. And then we started putting the first components down, and we started looking at, okay, where do we want to put our first driveway, that sort of thing. And now, where do we want to put our first building? So let's show you what we got over here. What you're looking at here is the layout of a barn. This is what they call a monitor style barn, and we'll show you kind of a picture of that. But this is a monitor style barn, and the idea is that what's the first building you really want to put down? And strategically, where do you put it? Well, there's a lot of components to that. So septic is the main language of lot development in the rural spaces. You can get water from rainwater. You can get solar power, as we actually are going to do both here on both of these pieces of property, on this whole property. But septic really makes or breaks a lot of the land here. You must be able to get rid of your sewage, and you got to do it in a healthy and responsible manner. And that really lays out a lot of where you're going to put your buildings. So that is primary, and that's a whole other thing we could talk about. But the location of this building here, this is our first one, is kind of like if you're doing a painting and you put the first tree. And you say, okay, now I can see that there's a tree here. Now I could put a brook here, or I could paint a mountain here. It's the same idea. We put the road in, we put the building in, and now we are going to be breaking ground here. This is a building that it's going to be a combination space, right? We're first coming in here as a homestead. We don't have an endless amount of money that we could just come in and lay out, building here, building there, building everywhere. We need a combo building, a building we can do all things. So we're going to live in this building here. It's going to have an apartment. It's going to have a loft, like a hayloft, where we're going to put more bedrooms. And then at the bottom, we're going to be able to have our shop, pretty much our wood shop and stuff like that. And that is the first place that we can actually plant our feet in the ground here and it become our actual home. Because of the size of the property, we really have to be here because we have to maintain it, particularly when the grass starts growing. So that's kind of the plan that we have. Now, we'll show you here in a little bit some different things we're doing on the land. But right now, know that this is the first building, and off of this building will come a lot of the other design elements of the land, because you really are designing the land. You do not want to put a building where you don't want it to be in the future. In other words, if I put the building here and then I realize, oh my gosh, I should never put it there because this is in the way and I really want to put something else there, and there's an issue with whatever, you know, you really want to be careful about what you do. And I really took a long time to finalize this place, made my family crazy, changed my mind several times. But I think right now we are in a perfect spot for it. Additionally, one last thing before I end this section. We're going solar completely. And the reason is because, well, for one, as I said, we're about a half mile off the road. Just getting power up here is in excess of $20,000 just to run power lines overhead. Not only that, then I got to pay them a bill. So when you start looking at all that, you really start wondering, is that worth it? As well as water, you know, coming in with the water from the, you know, digging it in the ground, paying for the pipe, then you got to pay them a water bill. So our goal is we're going to put solar on this building. It is orientated in such a manner that this side of the building here faces due south. As you can see, we have barely any trees that are going to impede our south facing. And the design of the roof line as well is going to be perfectly orientated when it comes to not only positionally, directionally, but also when it comes to the angle. So based on the pitch of the roof, we're going to have a number of solar panels. Now, again, we're not made of money, so it's kind of a gradual thing. We're going to put a couple panels, add some batteries, add an inverter or two, and try that out. And I am so thankful to the folks on YouTube, for so many folks with all these different specialties, to just watch some of these folks who just have helped me do the research on some of this, because from solar panels to now rainwater harvesting, the next thing, because we need water up here. Now I can get tanks and I can get them filled, but I want to harvest the rainwater and then filter it and use it for our public consumption, as well as maybe watering, you know, watering the animals and such like that. Now we do have a lake here, so that helps when it comes to irrigation. We can irrigate anything. The lake is rather large. I call it a lake. It's 2.5 acres. I don't know, pond, lake, I'm not really sure. It's probably more a pond, but it's a lot of water. I heard it's probably about 600,000 gallons or plus of water in there. So a lot of rainwater. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of touch base with you on this. This is the start of the homestead. This is how we're getting going, and just glad you're with us. Okay, so now we are ready to do some work and kind of started a little bit. What we got going on is right here, we got our mulch and we put down some of our fabric. If you're not really sure what this is used for, I mean, obviously people use this fabric for blocking out weeds and stuff like that. That's part of it. The other part that's really good, they call it geotextiles when it comes to placing down roadways and as far as rock and everything. And they call it that. What happens is when you put down this geotextile textile fabric, what it does is if you put a lot of rock on it or heavy weight on it, it will allow it to not sink into the ground. So let's say you have very soft ground, you would put this down and then put some heavy rock on top of that, and then stack some finer rock on top of that, and that would cause this whole thing to be stable. Now for what we're doing, that's not really the case. This is clay, a lot of clay, and we want to use this bark that we just got delivered. We signed up, and by the way, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. You may or may not be aware. You can go on chipdrop.com. You may be aware of it. Chipdrop.com. It's free. You sign up and you tell folks, hey, I want some chips dropped at my place, and they will drop them. Now here we have a need for a lot of chips from these tree companies, so there really is no limit. They can bring us 50 truckloads and we have enough use of it. But anyway, Chip dropped this off. Believe it or not, I signed up a week ago, and believe it or not, they already dropped off their first load this morning, which is amazing. And was probably going to get a secondary load. But anyway, this is going to be our trail, our pathway. So we have our rock coming in, our driveway. We're stopping it here next to our building. And then we don't want any real cars per se to drive beyond this way back here. So as you can see, if you turn around, what we're doing is we're going to run this chip over this geotextile fabric, and that's going to keep the weeds out. Also, another thing this geotextile does is allows drainage, and the wood chips also are great sponges for moisture. They do a great job in soaking up any moisture. So after you know, a little bit of time of driving on it, walking on it, particularly, what will happen is this will pack down nice and tightly, and of course it's going to have to be refreshed, and you know, from time to time, because this will eventually decompose and turn into dirt eventually. But it's a great base, and you know, in the future we'll see how it works out, and we can keep adding different sorts of things on top of it. But it's a great inexpensive way to make a trail. Now we're going to make this trail, so to speak, all the way by those trees. I don't know if you can see those 4 trees we planted out there. Those are weeping willows we planted about a week or two ago, a couple weeks ago. And those trees get ginormous, and they're fast growing. Weeping willows grow about 6 to 8 feet a year. So they will rapidly get a lot bigger. And we got them for a great price at, believe it or not, Walmart of all places. We got them for a great price. So don't discount places like that. You'd be surprised what you can get. So we put them there, and we're going to put our trail, our pathway, right in between there, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to work on that, and you can watch us sweat a little. Okay, so we are just about done with this little section. It was kind of a sample run. You may have seen, we got a second load of chips in from the tree company. It was oak, which is really awesome. So it's a nice oak chip. So this should last a little while. It's a nice hardwood, and very little green leaves and stuff in it. So typically, what we're going to do with this really is we're going to use it as a base for some of our planting, to getting a soil amendment, so to speak, laid on top of it, then turn into compost. But we have to have a pretty good nitrogen source for that, meaning we need leaves or something like that, grass clippings. Without that, it'll lay here dead for a while. So this was really good for what we did here. We did about 60 feet of our pathway here. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to flatten out, but it is now the second thing we are putting in our palette. So again, this is kind of like art, and if you're artistic in any way, you kind of are laying this out like an artist would. So the idea here is that, as you may see that far tree there, from this edge of this pathway over to that tree, right behind that tree, we're going to have a fence. So this whole area is going to be grass up both sides, and then maybe we'll put some flowers or whatever it is as we get closer. I'm kind of building it a little bit as I go along. I'm kind of looking at it. I'm a bit artistic as far as looking at stuff visually and seeing how it could lay out. So that's the idea, that we would have grass on both sides. You'd come in, and this is mainly a walking path and that sort of thing. Now, what we did is this geotextile was actually 13 feet wide. So we had extra. This is only a 9-foot wide path. So what we did here is we cut off, you may have seen, about 4 feet or so. We did about 9 feet wide. That we're going to save because we may use that for some of the trails or something like that, or we could use it for our garden as well, as a weed blocker and that sort of thing. So this is what this is the next step. You know, you do a little bit each day, and it's amazing what you can do in a week or a month or a year. So that's the idea here. We don't kill it. We don't work sunrise to sunset. We put in, you know, some good hours of work, and over time, it turns into something. So anyway, I'm glad you're along with us on this. Thanks for being here. We'll see what's next.